Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be speaking on ROEs, rules of engagement when you're performing a penetration test. So if you guys are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, and share. Let's jump into the video, and I have a fun list. And if I'm missing anything that you guys do, put it in the comments below, and I'll love to learn. Thank you, and let's get into it. All right, folks. So what is the rules of engagement? So hopefully you guys came here to learn about that. And it's very, very important, especially when you're doing penetration testing, because you don't want to get yourself into trouble. So the rules of engagement for a penetration test defines the scope, the methodologies, and the legal bindings. That's the most important thing, right? You don't want to be scanning off in a network that you don't have permission to do so, and you want to get the feds knocking at your door. So these rules are critical for ensuring the penetration test, the pen test is conducted ethically, legally, and without causing any intent of harm to the client's systems and reputation, right? So just make sure you have a list of what you want to put. These are my little rules of engagement, and there's so many more, or there's less, whatever. These are things that I put together that I have for myself. So the number one thing is, right, we want to have a scope of work, right? SOW. So once we have the scope of work, this clarifies the outline of the targets of the pen test, right? The IP addresses, the systems, the people, if we're trying to target people, et cetera, right? Including specific systems, networks, and applications. And it should detail what is allowed to be tested and what is off limits, right? What is out of scope, because we don't want to start scanning something, God forbid, take it down. And if we take it down, then we'll be in deep shit, right? So the next one here is objectives and goals, right? What are the objectives? What are the goals? These describes the main objectives of the pen test, such as identifying vulnerabilities, assessing the effectiveness of the security controls, or simulating an attack by a specific threat actor, and simulating something like a red team engagement, or so on and so forth. But we're talking about penetration testing here. Authorization, right? We want to make sure we have, this is the permission that we have to access those systems. So this includes formal permission from the rightful owners, right? The stakeholders and target assets. Make sure like the CISO or whoever's the CEO gives you explicit permission. Have it in writing, because you don't want them to go to the police or law enforcement or something like that saying, oh, we didn't authorize this guy to scan this, and then you have your proof and you have, you can cover your ass, right? CYA. So this often takes the form of the sign agreement, right? So it gives us, that permission to do so. It authorizes us as a penetration tester to know what to do, right? So another thing for our rules of engagement is a timeline. That's pretty critical. Usually we have about 40 hours, but you want to have this, a start date and an end date of the pen test, so we know what dates to be working on this assessment. This includes specific times when testing is permitted and prohibited, right? Maybe there's a test, I've been on tests that we can't scan from 8 to 5 because we don't want to disrupt business hours. We have to do it from 9 at night to 6 in the morning or something like that. So, you want to try to avoid peak hours so we don't take down business applications, etc. But obviously there's an exceptions. So methodologies and tools, right? So, we want to outline the testing methodologies. Is this a black box assessment? What is a black box? That means we don't have any information about the organization. We're just going to do all the recon, all the stuff that we need to get for this engagement. And whatever we find, we find. White box is like, okay, we have all the source code, we have all the IP addresses, we have everything that we need to penetrate this system, and we're going to give a pretty report and have them, go remediate it. Gray box is a little bit in the middle, right? We may have some stuff, we may not have some stuff, we may not have everything, and we just, have to go. A lot of the time we have a gray box assessment, right? And, and specifics, any tools, scripts, or software that will be used during the test, like maybe using Kali Linux, maybe using Nessus for your vuln scan, maybe using Burp Suite, or maybe using CrackMap Exec or NetExec or Bloodhound or whatever scanning NetNMap or whatever. right? So just make sure you have that all written out. So, if they're running any defense in place, they are aware of these tools and maybe they can make an exception. That's more if it's a white box assessment. They can make exceptions if you're in, like once you get inside, maybe if we're running like Mimikatz, we can put that as a rule in our CrowdStrike or in our Defender, in our EDR system. So we can have an exception folder with all the tools, and that folder can have an exception. And that's how normally it's done. At least for me, I don't know. But communication and reporting, right? Establish the protocols for regular updates. So you talk to your clients, say, hey, this is where we're at on day 2, this is where we're at on day 3, etc. And emergency communication. God forbid you did take a server down or a system down or a network down, you can have them bring it back up, right? Hold on, I think I got an eyelash in my eye. And and the format and context of the final report, right? My favorite, you have that final report, you debrief that with the client, you give them the details of your findings, of what you recommend them remediating, and just give them a cool little report of what you did, right? And because at the end of the day, it's about educating the client, right? It's not about, the cool hacking stuff and penetrating them and making them look silly. It's about showcasing where they need the help, right? So confidentiality and data handling. This is super important too, right? This is how to handle, sensitive information and data collected during a pen test. So say, for example, we were able to find PII, PHI, information that's sitting on a client's desktop, right? Maybe we can grab that, we can store it, we can encrypt it, and then we can, let the person know, or, the stakeholder know that this is what was found on Sally's machine. This shouldn't be out in the open, right? So then they can protect that, remediate it, remove it from there, and put it in a safer spot, right? So we want to comply with, relevant data protection laws, right? For example, HIPAA and all that good stuff. And then we have legal and compliance requirements, right? So say, for example, like I said, PCI DSS, HIPAA, SOX, any kind of compliant regulated laws, you want to make sure you comply with that, right? So this addresses compliance and applicable laws, regulations, and industry standards to ensure the pen test does not violate any legal obligations or ethical standards, right? So I think that's pretty critical, don't you? So an incident response plan. Excuse me. Hope I'm not getting sick. I'm actually leaving today. So today is Wednesday, and I'm heading out to Romania. So if you guys are, this is a little break. So if you guys are going to be in Romania for the B-side out there, I'll be there Saturday. So see you guys there. So back to the video, right? My own little sponsor. No, I'm just kidding. But incident response plan, right? Detail the steps to be taken in case of the penetration testing, in case the pen testing activities, so pretty much if there's any data breaches, if there's anything that's sensitive, we want to make sure that's all good to go, right? We want to make sure, we have that information, and just in case, God forbid, you got ransomware, you have an IR plan, right? Instant response plan. And this includes the contact information, any key personnel and procedures for mitigating any unintended consequences, right? So you have limitations and exclusions, right? You want to make sure you clearly state any limitations on the pen test activity, right? Or if any areas or vulnerabilities that are exploited, excluded from the scope. So say, for example, if they have a system that is internal blue and they know that internal blue is there, but they can't, decommission that server because it's a critical business line application, and, they don't make that application running on Windows Server 2022, or they don't have a cloud-based system because they're from 1985, So, and there's still systems out there. There's kiosk systems. There's banks. When you're doing your little transaction, when you go and you get your money out of an ATM, I worked at banks, right? So I know the systems that are running behind that, and they're pretty shit. I'm not going to lie. But yeah. So acceptance and risk, right? So acknowledge so pretty much this is saying, if you have a risk like that, like if we have a Windows Server 2003, we have to let the client know that this is an acceptable risk, right? They have to know that, okay, God forbid we do get hacked, we knew about it, right? So, responsible for the pen test and the client managing those risks, right? So we let them know, hey, this is what you need to do to fix it, and they take it upon themselves to go fix it, right? So that's pretty much it. So, right, yeah, that's pretty much it. So by establishing clear and comprehensive rules of engagement, both pen testers and the client can ensure that the testing is performed responsibly, effectively, and minimal risk to the target systems, right, in the organization. So that's pretty much what a rules of engagement is. Yeah, so at the end of the day, you just want to make sure you're safe, you're protected, you don't want to get in trouble, and the client is good to go. Make sure you have everything written out, and then you can go hack and sack and doing all your stuff, but make sure you have your rules of engagement. For an example, if you're going to do some certifications out there today, you probably have a rules of engagement, right? Don't scan this host, don't scan that system. Maybe because it's, a VPN server, maybe it's a remote server, maybe it's something that's serving a purpose, and if you attack it, you may lose access, you may lose connection, or whatever the case may be, right? So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you read that rules of engagement, what you're allowed to test and what you're not allowed to test, and you'll be in good shape. So hopefully this video was informative for you folks, and I thank you so much for checking it out.